I have my friend Stacey Henry-Carr. She is an author of Live Your Truth and Break the Cycle. She is also a Shetty certified life coach. She is a Marissa Peer certified hypnotist, and she's a Deepak Chopra Institute meditation teacher. Right. So I had to read from a paper, but that's okay.
All
Here we go.
good.
Yes. So today we are going to be talking to her about her book and also about, writing and why she wrote the book, and she's just going to share, and this is
Yeah.
this is her moment, her day to just kind of share with us and give us some good nuggets, and just hopefully someone will be, blessed by this, and be healed, basically, do whatever you
Absolutely.
have to say, as a resource, right? So yeah, so welcome.
Mwah.
Yay, yay, yay.
Uh,
So
thank you.
Stacey, yeah, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Thank
Go ahead
you.
and tell us more about you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me, Michelle. Michelle is my friend and I love her. And I'm so happy that she asked me to do this. Um, so with all the titles that you just gave me, all the certifications and all of the things that I've acquired. And Michelle is always saying, "You always working on something." I'm like, yeah, I keep myself fresh. And and it's also because as I'm working with people, I like to have as many tools as I possibly can under my tool belt, a lot of different things to pull out. And because not everything works for everybody. So as a hypnotist, there are some people who don't want to do hypnotherapy because of what they saw on television or their preconceived notions or sometimes their religion, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't want to do hypnotherapy, then that's okay. I'm a life coach, so I can always guide them through processes without hypnotherapy. And then I do visualizations, and I also love the idea of using meditation. So my whole concept in helping people to heal from the things or feel unstuck, to rediscover themselves. I love to use the subconscious programming, subconscious deprogramming, but just subconscious healing in itself because it's faster. And I'm not saying you heal overnight. When I say it's faster, it just means you get to that realization quicker with using subconscious healing. And subconscious healing is everything I mentioned: hypnotherapy, visualization, meditation, all of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the reason why you always see me in a certification course, Michelle, is because I'm always looking for the next best thing or looking for other tools to put in my toolbox to help my clients. And while I'm helping them, I'm helping me. But today, what I really want to talk about, that you invite me to talk about, is the book that I wrote and self-published back in 2019. So my book is Live Your Truth and Break the Cycle. And that's my first book. And I'm actually working on my second one now, and I'm hoping to have that all done by the end of this year. And Live Your Truth and Break the Cycle was really born out of frustration, if I must be honest.
Mm-hmm.
It was born, I started writing a book in my 20s. I remember writing, but it was more like me writing my story, writing about the young girl who grew up with her grandparents and grew up in Jamaica. And I was just writing that story. And then I abandoned it for whatever reason. But there's a vivid piece of it that still sticks out to me that I ended up putting in the Live Your Truth and Break the Cycle. Is where I talked about my grandmother taking me to the market with her on the weekends when I was a little girl, and how I had a love-hate relationship with that market in Jamaica because it was crowded. There was a lot of smells. It was an outdoor market. It was one of those. Anybody who has been to a Caribbean market, it's almost like a flea market, but it's just like it's fruits and vegetables and lots of sounds and all of that. And that was really vivid to me. And I ended up transporting that into the book, Live Your Truth and Break the Cycle. That those words were in that book.
Mm-hmm.
So I started writing a long time ago and I stopped for whatever reason. I guess I wasn't inspired, or maybe the inspiration started. And well, you know how things work. Your inspiration may start and then it stop and then you pick it up again, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially with writing, that's just how it is. So that was the first time I started writing was many, many years ago. I might have been in my 20s, and I'm far past my 20s, but that was a long time. But if I go back, I'm even going to go back. I'm going to go back to an 11 or 12-year-old girl, maybe 11, who used to write romance stories in a notebook.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been writing for a very long time, but never said I aspired to be an author. I was just writing. So, but the notebook one is really important. And this is something I want everybody to take from this conversation. When I was a little girl at 11 and I was writing these romance stories in my notebook, one day my uncle either saw me writing or saw it and asked what it was. And I showed him and he started reading it and he told me it was foolishness,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, oh, that's foolishness. You need to be doing something else. You need to be la la la. And he just totally pushed it, downplayed it, like nonsense. What are you doing? Don't you have anything else to do? Type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that very clearly. And he took my notebook from me. But later on that night, there was a little crack in the wall between one room and the other. And I saw him through that crack reading my story
Mm-hmm.
intently, intently reading my story. He never gave me back my book, my notebook. He never encouraged me to write, but I saw his ass reading my story. Right?
Yeah.
But as an 11 or 12-year-old, I think I was 11 or 12, I wasn't raised in an environment where I had a voice like that, where I could challenge him.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't. I just let it go. But it wasn't until I was writing Live Your Truth and Break the Cycle that I remembered intensely how that was my first attempt of writing, because I used to read those little Harlequin romances,
Mm-hmm.
and those little paperback things. If y'all are old enough, you know what I'm talking about. And what I was doing was mimicking writing my own.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So when I was writing Live Your Truth and Break the Cycle, I remember having flashbacks of how that moment in time was kind of snatched from me, almost made it seem like it was not okay to write.
Mm-hmm.
All right. But I'm saying that's really important because writing can very much so be your healing. It could be a huge part of our healing journey. And one of the things that Michelle wanted me to talk about today is how writing and healing and mental health all tie together. And when I was young and I was writing, it was almost like a fairy tale world for me, which was to escape poverty, sexual abuse, and not having my parents, because my grandparents raised me, not having my parents around.
Mm-hmm.
So writing was an escape for me then, but I didn't know it as that, right? So I only look back now and go, wait a minute, it was an escape for me then. And this sapsucker snatched it from me and made it seem like something was wrong with it. Yet he was reading my story. So um it was healing for me then. And I didn't realize it until I became an adult and I wrote. when I was writing, in the process of writing Live Your Truth and Break the Cycle, these light bulbs were going off like, oh my God, Stacey, you've been doing this for a while. And so let me go back. You're going to be tested when you're using your creative powers to do whatever it is that your creative powers are. Writing was mine, and I was not encouraged to write. I was discouraged. Foolishness is what it was called, or nonsense. That's nonsense. What are you doing? It's nonsense. But it was an expression, and it was also an escape. But many a times we're going to be tested. So imagine if the 11-year-old me, after that happened, just decided to never pick up a pen again, to never do any type of writing again, because that person made it bad or wrong for me. You're going to be tested. Your creativity, your creative power, the very thing that is what you use to free yourself, whether it be dance or singing or writing poetry or writing a book or whatever the heck it is, creative arts and standing on top of your head, whatever your thing is your thing. But people will tell you it's foolishness and they'll tell you it's nonsense because it's not their thing, it's your thing. When you're writing a book, people will tell you, why are you doing that? Nobody's going to buy it. Like, why are you writing it like that? What do you, people don't understand that and da 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 da. Listen, it's for you and the person who will resonate with, not them. So if my uncle, if I had allowed it, or if my psyche allowed it, it would have shut me down forever. But it didn't, because while I was in my late 20s and 30s, I wrote poetry and I used to go to places and read my poetry. So now when I'm talking to you, I'm thinking of all the times I wrote. Writing has always been my healing power, and it can be yours too, right? And you just don't have to be in anybody's box. You just allow people to um, allow yourself to express yourself and allow people to have their opinions if that's okay. All right, Michelle. So what I want to do now is talk about, earlier I said that I wrote Live Your Truth and Break Your Cycle out of frustration. So I've been writing all my life. Started when I was a little girl when I wrote that story. And I wrote poetry in my 20s. I used to go to these places and read my poetry, and in my 30s. But Live Your Truth and Break the Cycle was born after I found out so many things that had happened in my family, things that I honestly knew some, and some of it I didn't know, right? And the things that I found out, all of these things that were happening in my family growing up. And some of it I already knew, some of it had happened to me. And when you're going through any type of abuse, a lot of times you think you're the only person. Because even when you're in a household and it's happening to almost everyone, for some reason you think it's just you. So here I am all my life holding on to these things within me and did not really, I shared them with a few people, a few family members here and there, but not like, you know, blasted out. And then in 2017, 2018, one of my relatives shared his story of abuse that happened in my household where I grew up. And I felt so betrayed. And it's the weirdest thing when it was me that it was happening to, and when it was me that I remembered, I did not feel that level of betrayal like I did when I found out that what had happened to my cousin, right? And I don't know if it's because he was a boy. I don't know what it was, but it it really did something to me. It woke me up in ways that I never thought.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so angry and frustrated, and I felt betrayed. And I was just like, all of this was happening. Oh my gosh. And these people didn't protect us. And it was just one of those, right?
Mm-hmm.
So with that said, my weapon of choice was me writing. So I just started writing, Michelle. And I just started writing. And the more I wrote, the more it was out of frustration. And when I was writing it at first, it was raw. Names and everything was in it, right? It was just like, you know, and this and they and blah, blah, blah. It was just that first draft was just out of frustration and anger
Mm-hmm.
because I felt betrayed.
Mm-hmm.
And the betrayal came because when I learned who was doing these things, and these are people that I trust and I loved, and I thought they were protectors. And so it was a really deep betrayal for me. And because of that, I wrote the book out of frustration and anger.
Mm-hmm.
But by the time I got to the second, third, fourth draft, it had it had left anger and it had turned into healing.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's another tip. When you're writing, sometimes we're writing, and the reason we don't finish our books or we don't publish them is because when you go back and look at it, it's raw. And sometimes it might be angry.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it may be frustration that you're hearing in it. And that's okay because that's your first draft. And if that's not what you want to publish, it's okay too, because by the time it's edited and, by the time you let out the raw energy and the raw emotion, sometimes you keep some of it, and some of it you don't.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people stop writing or they don't publish because their book is so raw.
Mm-hmm.
But you know how many things I cut out because that was for me. And
Mm-hmm.
then what was left is for my readers,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's where I mean when I said writing is a healing journey. It's a healing process. It is definitely a healing power for me.
Mm-hmm.
You just write. And anybody who guides you in how to write a book will tell you write and then edit later. You're the writer. That's where editors are for, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because when we start to edit ourselves, it's almost like we are suppressing our voice
Mm-hmm. Right.
and
Right.
we're keeping what we need to say out. And especially if you're writing a book that is expressing yourself about things that's happened to you, about traumas, about childhood, it is very important that you don't censor yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You shouldn't censor yourself, period.
Mm-hmm.
But don't censor yourself while you're writing. When you're done writing and you've let all of that go, remember, writing is a healing tool. Then you can read it again and decide, what do I keep?
Mm-hmm.
What do I let go?
Mm-hmm.
What's for me? What was for me? And now what is for my readers?
Right.
And so that's how Live Your Truth and Break the Cycle was born. I asked my same family member if I could put his story in my book, and I did.
Mm-hmm.
And the book was divided up with putting different stories from different friends and family members.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the last part of the book was called Bond of Healing. There was a bond of healing where I met people and we healed together by sharing stories. And so the book is about overcoming childhood sexual abuse and moving from that to forgiveness, moving from that to healing, and moving from that to understanding.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting here as a testament of moving from that to thriving
Mm-hmm.
because it's because of that why I do what I do. right? Now,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying there was a purpose for it at all. There is absolutely no room, no purpose, no place for sexual abuse to anyone, not a child, not an adult, no one, a
Mm-hmm.
boy, not a girl, no one. So I'm not saying that I needed that to be the woman I am, or I needed that to be able to help and guide people the way I do today. Not at all. I didn't need that shit, not one bit at all. But because of it, I was able to pull from that and be the woman I am today. And so writing Live Your Truth and Break the Cycle started out of anger and frustration. But by the time I self-published it on Amazon, it was about healing. It was about healing myself and about helping others who are on a healing journey to see that they were not alone and that these things that happened to them or that were happening to them, so many others are going through it. And when you write, when you write, you're giving somebody else permission to speak their story, to seek help, to just be free, to actually, even if they say it to no one, they can go, oh my goodness, that happened to me too.
I love all of that. When you're talking, I'm thinking about how we had went to High Vibe and you did the circle and
Yes,
just all of this was just coming up for me and how there was so much healing that happened from the process that you took us through, right? There was a lot of emotion and we were free to let things come up, even
yes.
in the for me personally, even in the tug of war that I was having with this ain't gonna work. you know,
Mm-hmm. Like,
there's
like,
that.
like
You know,
most people say, yeah,
yeah, it's kind of like, okay, no, I'm strong. And you don't even want to let it happen. But when it happens, it's just like freeing what you do. And I'm never going to forget that because it was so powerful. And then to see other people being able to release
yes,
at that time, whatever it was for them, that's their own personal thing. But I was impressed, right?
yeah,
And I felt something happen that I didn't know could happen,
right,
right? There was just something there that, I'm just blown away
yeah,
at how you do what you do. And your book is just like it's like an accessory
it
to
is,
the skill, right? It's kind
it
of
is,
like it's needed, right? And I just was talking about this on a video, how we'll have this trauma and then we'll still be in the thick of our thing. And we can't even talk about it because we haven't gotten the work, we haven't done the work. So you've got a book, but you haven't been to some kind of therapy, some kind of through with a coach or something. So you
yes,
can't even stand on the stage with your book, you know.
right.
And so I believe that, with you can help someone get past that so they can stand there and talk,
That's
right?
right, right,
Yeah. And people they don't think that they're coming off angry or still hurt. And it's
right.
hard when you are standing on stage to get yourself back together, to
Yes,
be there to help someone, right?
that's right, that's
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
right.
yeah,
You know
yeah.
what Michelle is talking about, we went to a fun seminar together and I guided the group into an inner child healing experience using hypnosis. And it did. I do that often. I love it. That's my secret sauce when it comes to the work that I do. And I love to do that because a lot of times like, speaking about being on stage with your book and writing your book, but not even being able to really eloquently speak to it because you're still so thick in the trauma. which is why I'm encouraging people to write raw. Stop trying to make it pretty when you're writing. Stop trying to be like, okay, people are not going to like this. Because your first draft of your book, if you really pay attention to it, it's for you. So that's a part of your healing as you're writing it out. But with the inner child healing that I do, it just helps people to go back to that younger child that had experienced the things that's holding them hostage and be able to comb through that, to go back to hold that child, to nourish that child, to reparent that child, to make that child feel loved and safe and know that no, let that child know it wasn't your fault that these things are happening. Even for me to have gone back to my 11-year-old self and reminded her, remember when you peeped through that little crack and you saw him reading your book? He was reading it because he enjoyed it, girl. Go write your book. You can still write, you know? So it's like going back to your inner
Yeah,
child
yeah, yeah.
and really giving them that nudge that they needed at that time, that they nobody was offering it or available for them.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, do you have some more stuff you want to share with us? I know we're going to be talking more on this
More, yeah,
journey for mental health and all of
yeah.
that, but
So I think I want to summarize it now. So, because there's some good nuggets here about first not allowing other people to take away your creative genius by either shaming you or putting their energy about it on you. Your creative genius is writing, right. If whether it be poetry, a book, articles, novels, a blog, whatever your creative genius is, don't let other people interfere with that. At 11 years old, it could have been interfered with. And if if you're an adult and you had things from childhood that was interfering with your creative genius, it's time for you to reach back to that younger version of yourself and take take it back, claim of what is rightfully yours and don't allow the naysayers, so to speak. That's not going to make you no money. Why are you writing a book? You're not going to make no money from that anyway. That's not a profession. Oh, Michelle, you know what I'm talking about.
right, right. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So go back and take it back. Take it back. So that's one. The second thing is allow yourself to write raw. Very, very important. That's a part of healing. If you were censored as a child, you become censored as an adult. So that's why when you're supposed to write things out, that's why when you want to say a curse word or two, all of a sudden, cat got your tongue and you can't say it and your throat starts to feel weird because somebody has shut down your expression. But writing is a part of your expression. And so if you can't say it out loud, you can write it out. Do not censor yourself. Write it raw. And then after that, you can decide what's for me and then what's for my reader. So that's my second tip, my second one. And then the third one is work on that inner child. Work on the things that's holding you back so that when you write this book, or you write the article or whatever it is that you write the poetry and you want to go express it, that you can express it from a place where you're healing. Not that you're healed, we're never fully healed, we're always on that journey. So, but you can write it from a place where you're healing and you can express it from a place of healing so that you're actually really helping people. And then the most important thing is to know that you give voice to others. So when you write, somebody is reading that and saying, oh my goodness, me too. So kind of where I think I want to close it out today, Michelle.
Yeah.
Just understanding that writing is a healing power if you allow it to be.
Mhm.
And all of the things that you're going through, the emotions you're feeling, the mental health struggles that you're having, there's a root to them. It's deep rooted. And there's a child within you that is begging, hoping, wishing for extra nurture and love and care and understanding. And that's the child that you need to reach back to.
Mm.
And for me, the child who wrote that at 11, that wrote in that notebook, was so happy when I wrote and published Live Your Truth and Break the Cycle.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. And I love you.
I was about to say, I love you.
This is my friend, right?
Friend.
Friend. Yeah.
What I call naked friends, you
Yeah.
know, naked friends are friends where you don't have to pretend around.
Yeah.
I will never forget the last time I saw her, I needed to cry. And I'd been
Mm.
holding in the tears for like 24 hours.
Yeah.
And then I saw her and I just looked at her and I started talking. She was like, let it out. And I'm like, that's a naked friend. I wasn't,
Yeah.
I mean, I'd been holding it in. I don't hold in my tears. I don't hold in my
Yeah.
emotions at all.
Yeah.
But who I was around and I needed to at the time. And um I got in front of Michelle, man, and I was like, okay, I got a safe friend here. I could boo.
Yeah. Yeah. But we need that, we'll be holding, and it's just like we just need to not even care and
That's
just,
right.
because it's lifted, right? We're
Yes, yes,
lifted. Yeah. Yeah. So
yeah. So
beautiful.
I'm so glad you invited me to do this, my friend.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm looking forward to more, right? Because we got
Absolutely.
more to talk about, right?
Lots more.
Yeah.
There's so many more topics, and even in my book, there are many topics in that book. There are topics about forgiveness, there are topics
Mhm.
about secrets and family secrets, and just how family secrets can really destroy. And there are topics about finding the bond, the people, your crew, your tribe, the people who can really help and guide you and hold space for you.
Mhm.
There's so many topics there that we could dive into, but today I really just wanted to kind of give you the general process of just the what got me to writing it in the first place,
Mhm. Mhm.
and how it's something I'd started doing way back when, but then I mean, maybe even a decade before I wrote or two before I even wrote this book, I'd started writing.
Mhm.
So just know that just because you stop doesn't mean it has to stop there.
Right, right. Yeah, I love it. I love that. So we are going to share, a picture of your book at the
Yes.
end, and then where
Hmm.
people can get the book and all of that. At the end, we'll
Absolutely.
put it on the screen so everyone can see that. And
Mhm.
then, and then hopefully people will just go out and get your book so they can get the story.
Yes.
And then
Yes.
we'll talk more later, right? So,
Absolutely. Then you'll
yeah.
be all in my business when you get
Yeah.
my book. All of the family,
Yeah.
all of my business. I often tell people I don't have any secrets. And they're like, what do you mean? I was like, I wrote it and shared it with the world.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's what frees us.
100%.
Yeah. All right.
Yes.
Take
All
care.
right, my sister,
Yeah.
it's wonderful. I love you so, and I look forward to the next time we get together.
Okay. Take care.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.